Whenever I begin hearing that a new, highly awaited film is wildly polarizing, I have to go see it. Why did some people feel everything, and yet other people felt nothing? That is more than ever the case with A24's latest release, I Saw the TV Glow. After seeing the film, one can very easily see why it's completely split its audience. However, personally, I saw a beauty in this film that I don't think I've ever seen before. And I feel the need to break down the film's one-of-a-kind message, many symbolic characters, and meaning of the pink opaque and the glow of the TV. And we'll discuss this movie in 3 sections: the meaning, the inspiration, and the symbolism of I Saw the TV Glow in this spoiler-free analysis. The meaning. Before getting into all of the wild obscurity and endless symbolism of this movie, I think we need to first ground ourselves with the overarching message of the film. And who better to hear that from than the writer-director themselves, Jane Schoenbrun, on the topic of sexuality and gender identity. It's a film that I wrote in the early stages of transition, as I was dealing with the fallout from coming out, and this idea of holding myself in my entire life until this breaking point. And this really is the arc of the film. And as you can very easily tell, Jane has designed these 2 main characters out of pure personal experience. Very clearly, both of our main characters seem to be holding something inside that they find incredibly difficult to express or even accept. Owen, our most central character, is terribly fearful every day of his life, haunted by his own misunderstanding of his sexuality and identity. Such a dilemma results in this wildly severe and unbearable anxiety. Maddie, on the other hand, may be slightly more understanding of her sexuality, but still very clearly feels the weight of her community's perspective on her. She carries around this tough girl image, but this is only a defense mechanism clearly built out of her own fear. That same fear that Owen harbors. This is why they connect with one another so well. For me, it's a film about how we cope with repression. It's a film about where repression comes from and this quiet power of shame. And it's a film about how that can eventually and finally crack in a way that you can't hide from anymore. These 2 teenage outcasts grow up in the traditional 1990s American suburb. A time and place of very little acceptance or understanding of gender diversity and the spectrum of sexuality. The film's wandering directional style and careful slow burn pacing creates the perfect atmosphere for quiet, cruel, cold repression and seclusion. But it's the glow of the TV that can save them, which we'll discuss in the next 2 sections of this video. The inspiration. In an interview with Teddy Award Berlin, Jane Schoenbrun explains that I Saw the TV Glow is part of their unofficial Screen trilogy, a thematically connected trilogy about gender and sexual transition through the screen. The first film, We're All Going to the World's Fair, is about dysphoria, confusion, and the misunderstanding of oneself. The second film, I Saw the TV Glow, is about the moment where you do see yourself, before what happens in the third untitled film, where you finally make that transition into who you truly are. And by Jane giving us this context of this spiritual film trilogy, it allows us to so much better understand the specific purpose and importance of the TV in I Saw the TV Glow. And I think the best way to introduce the conversation of the TV in this film is by discussing Jane's relationship with the iconic 90s teen horror show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. As you can imagine, Jane explains that being trans at a younger age was incredibly difficult when living within such a monocultural space. Coming of age and coming into one's sexuality and gender was endlessly complicated and traumatic. And this is how Jane decided to deal with it. Growing up in the 90s, I spent so much time watching TV. It was comforting to me in a very specific way, where it felt more like a home than the home I was in. Or at the very least, I was being fed stories or entertainment that I could build an identity around. And for me, that was above all Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which the TV show and my movie, The Pink Opaque, is pretty overtly inspired by. A show like Buffy the Vampire Slayer covers themes of balancing identity, expressing oneself, developing relationships, and conquering demons, just like The Pink Opaque, which we'll talk more about very soon. The stylistic approach to this film combines the modern arthouse filmmaking style with the classic tropes of 1990s teenage television. The fourth wall-breaking narration, the oversaturated color palette, the hokey latex costumes, and embarrassingly dated special effects. But let's get more specific about The Pink Opaque and how it affects Maddie and Owen in the next section of this video. The symbolism. As mentioned before, the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer covers themes of balancing identity, expressing oneself, developing relationships, and conquering demons, and therefore became an outlet for Jane to express their queer identity. With The Pink Opaque, for Owen and Maddie, the exact same thing is happening. Owen and Maddie on a weekly basis wait so impatiently for the next episode of The Pink Opaque to finally see themselves, feel themselves, and in some sense, get to live life through the show. Owen and Maddie both live vicariously through the two main characters who reflect each of them, Isabel and Tara. The arch-villain who Isabel and Tara are up against, Mr. Melancholy, very clearly represents the depression, anxiety, and loneliness that feels nearly impossible to overcome in a life of crushing emotional repression. Isabel and Tara are spiritually connected. The relationship gets stronger as they bond over the same challenges, and they overcome a new set of demons every week. These 3 points apply literally for Isabel and Tara, and also perfectly apply figuratively for Owen and Maddie. The pink opaque, literally meaning the pink you cannot see through, represents the pink inside the body, figuratively meaning the true inside of oneself. Therefore, the title, The Pink Opaque, symbolizes the true person living within the person that is presented to the public. That true person within is who Owen and Maddie are continuously searching for within themselves. The TV broadcast, so fortunately, is able to reflect that person inside who Maddie and Owen truly are. This is why we see so many shots of TV static, TV light, TV sounds, and TV images literally coming out and existing inside the bodies of the main characters. And while it's beautiful to see our characters who were in such a state of dysphoria finally find a glimmer of themselves in a television show, the film still leaves us with a grimly realistic depiction of how things may end up. In one way, we explore the possibility of vicarious living escalating into delusion and detachment from reality. And in the other way, we explore the possibility of eventually dismissing those beautiful teenage stories as simply fiction and hopelessly trying to grow out of it. We'll just have to wait for Jane Schoenbrun's final film in this spiritual trilogy to tell us how they became the true person who was always glowing within.